So now we are on YouTube too. Hello, people from YouTube. My name is Gabriele, and I you guys this immersion today. Today we are going to talk about reading preference. And to start this meeting, I'd like to explain a little bit how TNT works. TNT is a language platform for beginners, intermediate, and advanced speakers. All immersion meetings are not regular classes, so I'm not a teacher, I'm a student too. And this is a place to practice English in a real environment, right? So we have a specific topic to discuss about. We have some questions to guide this conversation. And we have some rules to follow to make the conversation more enjoyable, all right? So the first rule is to be respectful. The second rule is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Remember that here we are between friends, so feel free to make mistakes. Feel free to tell some word in Portuguese if you don't know how to say it in English. Don't worry about your pronunciation, right? The goal of this immersion is to practice. And the third rule is to have fun. Okay, guys? So all the questions are on the chat. As we are four here, I will not create more rooms. I think four here it's okay to have a good conversations flow. And I'd like to invite you, Isabel, to present herself, please.
Sure. So my name is Isabel. I'm 23 years old. I'm a graphic designer. I finished my graduate last year, and I work in area since 2020. Started with a program that are in university calls, how can I say that in English? But it's like junior company, something like that. So since then, I work with graphic designer, but in this year I started with UI design too. And I'm from Florianopolis. I live here as well and born here. And in my free time, I like read books, the topic of the immersion, and watch movies as well, watch series, and go outside.
Isabel, I totally understand you when you talk about junior companies because at the university that I work, there is a lot of this type of companies, right? Made up
Nice.
of students, and it's a good opportunity to understand how the market works
Yes.
and about the opportunities, all right?
Yes, that's a great opportunity. Very nice.
Thank you so much. And you, Lucas, can you present yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Lucas. I am 38 years old. I am married. I am a public servant at Unicamp. I have been working there for 12 years. In my free time, I enjoy watching soccer games and reading books. I don't have any children. That's it.
I'd like to ask you something because I don't know you so much, but what's your preferred thing about your city? What the thing that you like most in Campinas?
Yes. So I'm from Campinas, but I live in Barão Geraldo. It is near Campinas.
It's not a part of the city? I
Yes,
thought that,
yes.
okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
I thought it's a part of the city.
Yes. I like most in Campinas. So I would like in Campinas the beach, but I we don't nós não temos, né? We don't have beach. And so I am a person I don't like go outside very much. And I would say the most favorite part in Campinas is Unicamp, maybe.
Or your home.
Yes,
You can
yes.
choose. That's right, Lucas. Thank you so much.
Uh,
And you, Adimar, can you present yourself, please? Introduce yourself, please. Sorry.
No problem. Uh, I'm I'm Odmar. I'm 60 years old. I have two sons, but they really grown up. 27. It was the birthday for my oldest son yesterday, so he's already 27. And the newest, the early one is not early, but the newest one is 22. I'm married, live with my wife in São Paulo, Vila Leopoldina. I'm still unemployed, but I already got hired, as I said, for a company it's funny because it was a company that I tried to get enter before when I was working. When I was working. So it's good. It was good. Uh, I like some hobbies, like different hobbies like aeromodelism, 3D printing. I don't know if I talk about this. I like reading too, but I prefer reading news and technology stuff regarding my area of work. That's it.
Thank you so much, Odimar. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Gabriele. I'm 32 years old. I was born in Pelotas, a city in the south of Rio Grande do Sul. I don't know if you know about, but it's not a small city. It's a medium city, I think so. But 3 years ago, I came to Rio, and now I live in this beautiful city. I'm a food engineer, and I work as a science entrepreneur. So I have my own company that's focused on ingredient solutions for the plant-based market. I don't have kids, I don't have brothers and sisters, I live alone. And on my free time, I really like to stay at home, watching movies, series, reading, or listen to music, or go out with my friends. Here in Rio, I have a lot of friends. I have my boyfriend, so I really like to stay with them, discovering different places here, and just studying, like studying in my area and study English when I have time. And that's all, guys. So let's get started about the topic today. Let me see. Odimar, can you read the question number 2 for us and answer, please?
Yes. Do you have a reading habit? If so, how many times a week do you usually read? I think I read every day, but mostly is something fast. Like, for example, I was reading a Harvard article from Harvard Business Review. They are talking about how to work in uncertain, how to deal with this uncertainty. Like, for example, you have to make scenarios. In the worst case situations, you have to have to draw a plan to respond for those worst scenarios. Do a map of risks, some kind of things that it's very common nowadays. You work with uncertainty. For example, 2 years ago, we have 2 to 4 years, I think 3 years. We have pandemic. So it was a very uncertain period of time. You have to deal with different situations you never did before. But it's a very interesting article. That's it. It's so I think every day I'm reading something.
That's so nice, Odimar. I read a lot of articles related to my research topic. And about this topic that you mentioned, I think it's important because in real life, all the things are uncertain, all right? So we don't have certain about anything, or yeah, we don't know what happens tomorrow. And I think before pandemic, we are certain about the future, but the world proved that we don't have this certain anymore. So we need to learn how to live with the uncertainties about the circumstance, and how to to deal with it, right? So how to have a good life, and consider that there is hope in uncertain, and this is good for a life too. This is the reason that we are here. We are here not with us with a certainty about the future. We need to discover it and to learn with it, and that's it. I think so. And you, Isabel, how about the question number 2?
Well, yes, I have the aptitude to read. How many times in a week? Well, in my work, for example, I don't know if all days, but all weeks, I'm reading, for example, articles about something related with UX and UI design area. So sometimes I read about some components or some resources for build interface. Very good practice to build some website or program that are related with it. And in my personal life, as I said before, I like to read to some literature or some book related with economic stuffs, or something that are more related with this kind of area, for example, to understand how the things works in our world. But I like to read literature, and sometimes I'm trying to read another book that are related with my professional area, but not in my work time. For example, in my free time, sometimes I write it too. So I think that's it. I like to read a lot of types of topics and kind of.
Yeah. This is a good balance to read things that can improve yourself in about your work, but about in life too. So I think the both it's important.
Yes.
I have I consider myself I consider that I have a reading habit, but it's not I'd like to have more. I'd like to read more per week, right? I read a lot of articles during the week related to my work, but I'd like to read about things related to other things in life, you know? And you, Lucas?
Yes, I have a reading habit, and I reading every day. And in my routine in morning, I read Portuguese book, and all long day I read little tests in English because I am studying English, and to read in English help me improve my vocabulary. That's it.
That's so good. I read in the past some books in English, and I think it it helped me to to improve my vocabulary and to understand the rhythm in this type of books. But nowadays I prefer to read in Portuguese because as I have a short time to do it, I think that I can read more in my native my native language, right? So let's move on to the question number 3. Let me see. Isabel, can you read the question and answer, please?
Sure. What genres do you typically enjoy reading, and why? Well, I think nowadays I'm preferring to read a history or literature, for example. The last book that I read and I really liked calls in Portuguese O Despertar da Senhorita Prim. And it's a very funny book about a woman and the history and the experience that she had in a untypical city. So it's a fiction, but it's very, very good to read and fluid. And nowadays I'm reading a book called in Portuguese Laranja Mecânica, but in English I don't know the name actually. I don't know if it's Orange Mechanic, something like that. And it's a good book too, but I'm in the beginning, and it's kind of strange because there are scenes that it's very horrible actually, and it's disgusting to read some parts, but I'm trying to finish that. But it's a fiction too, and I think nowadays I'm like to read this kind of book. This, I don't know, is considered genre literature, fiction, something like that.
Isabel, I think there is a movie with the same title that you book that you are reading,
Yes,
right? I think I
yes,
watched this movie some time ago, but I can't remember about the history,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, there's a book. I think because I don't finish the book yet, but it's I think that shares a experience in a fiction universe about authoritarian state and government, something like that. A bad government and bad things, but the beginning it's more like bad things that another people are doing. For example, young boys that the book explained to us the history for about us about them. But it's something like that about state and bad things that another people do.
Thank you for sharing, Isabel. And you, Lucas?
Um, my in Portuguese, I am reading self-help books. They called Arte de Fazer Acontecer in Portuguese. It is famous book in USA. And in English, I am reading beginners books, kind of graded reads, short books. And every day I find to read a, a lot, não, pouco, né? A little bit, and that's it.
Lucas, I have a period in my life that I read a lot of books in the same line that you mentioned. And nowadays I try to avoid this type of book, not because it's not my type, but because I'm searching for other things to learn. But I think everyone has a moment in life, have a moment in life that search for this type of book, right? And I think the last one that I read was Essencialismo. It was in the same line, but it was the last one. And so I read a lot of books related to habits and how to maintain and to create new habits. And now I stopped this type of this genre, and I tried to discover other things that because for me it's difficult to just to really know um my preference about books, all right? And now I'm trying to discover the things that I really like to read, and I'm trying to discover. And you, Odimar?
I don't know if I have a specific type of reading, but so when I find something that's I think the taste is good. Don't matter what for example, biography could be good, science fiction could be good, or a book like the last book that I read and I like very much. It was *Sapiens* from Yuval Harari. You know this book because it's like a history of the humanity. I don't know the way he got to bring things to it's a different way to analyze history in human in anthropology way. It's very dense book, but it's very nice. Yeah, I think his ideas in general are very nice. Think he's muted.
Sorry, I'm muted. Thank you for sharing, Edmar. So let's move on to the next question. The question number 4. It's a good one. Lucas, how many books do you usually read per year? Do you have a reading goal or not?
Yes, I read about 10, 12 books per year, and I find it to read one book per month. That's it.
I think it's a good metric because I think in 2021 I had a goal to read. I don't know guys, but it was like 16 or 16 yeah, 16 or 14 books. But I got it, but nowadays I prefer to read in my rhythm. And because when we put a goal, sometimes you feel like it's like a pressure to you to achieve this goal, right? Now I consider this the same quantity that you mentioned. I think it's a good a, uh, a good metric to have per year. And you, Wodimar?
Sorry, I was muted. I don't have I think I don't count, but I can only I think one or two books a year. I don't. For me, it doesn't matter the amount of books because I prefer reading short texts like news articles and something technical thing regarding my area, so that I don't have too much time to read a long book. So it's difficult for me to stay establish more than one book, more than two books a year. So it's okay for me. No problem.
And let me ask to you something. When you start a book, do you read another book in the same in the same time? For example,
Hardly
maintain.
ever. Hardly ever. I
Oh,
just focus in the one, not usually just one book at a time. It's for me, it's work better.
yeah, me too. I think it works better. And you, Isabel?
Well, I don't count too, but I started to read more last year or about 2 years ago. But uh, before that, I think I read something like one or two books for a year. But nowadays, in the last year, I think I started to read. Let me think. I don't know, 5 or 7 books, but it's I think recently actually start to read more books. For example, for example, now in this year, I started to read 2 books in the same moment. I'm trying this first time that I try to do that. For example, I'm reading literature in the night, and in my lunchtime, I try to read something related with my work, for example, it's something like that. And in this year, I finished 2 books, but one of them I started in the last year, and then I finished this year, so something like that. But I don't count. But since the last year or maybe 2 years, I started to read more books.
Yeah, perfect. And let me ask you, do you count how many pages do you read per day or not?
Well, I
Do we
don't
have
count
a metric like that?
Actually, not. I don't have. But depends actually. Media, I don't know. Imagine, I don't know the term in English. I usually read
In average,
7 or
the expression is in average.
In average. Oh, thank you. In average. Okay. In average, 7 or 10 pages, but depends. Or more. I really don't know. But I'm counting, for example, in a day I don't read a book. I don't read any book, for example. So because of that, in the media, I count 10 pages, but I really don't know the metric. I don't have any metric.
And let me ask to you, Lucas, do you prefer to read at night or in the morning? What's your preference about the period of the day to read?
On weekends, I prefer reading at night, but how do you say dias úteis? I prefer
Work day.
per
Work days.
work days. I prefer no. I need to read in the morning because all long day I look at study English. That's it.
Thank you. So the next question is about preference too. So, Ojmar, do you prefer reading physical books, ebooks, or listen to audiobooks, and why?
Okay. By preference, I prefer the physical book because I'm an old guy, old school guy, especially my age. So I always, in the past, I always have books, physical books, but the problem is we don't have space anymore to have so many books. So I start to buy, I bought a Kindle. So it's easy to carry to when you go travel. So it's the preference is the physical, but for the practical, I prefer reading the Kindle. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I prefer the physical books, but I'm planning to buy a Kindle because it's more practical and it's not I don't need a lot of space to organize the books. And yeah,
The problem
I've
that
never
I don't have anymore this space. I don't have
yeah
this space because I have an apartment. It's full of books already. So what can I do?
yeah me too. And my house is so tiny, so I don't have space to accumulate books here. And I've never listening I've never listened audiobooks. I've never tried it. I don't know if you tried it before, but yeah, I remember that I saw a video about digital influencer talking about it, And when I see this video, I feel curious about to have this type of experience, but at this time I didn't try it.
It's a thing that a tool you can use, for example, if you go or hike on the street, for example. During the hiking, you can hear the audiobook. It's
Yeah,
a I read I saw a podcast. There is a guy. This guy is crazy. He worked with intelligence, artificial intelligence. When he have to read a very big article, he put the article in the intelligence in the text interpreter that makes a conversation between two fake peoples talking about the article, transforming to the text in a conversation, in an audio conversation. It goes to walk on the street and listen to this. Imagine the people are doing that with intelligence.
it's so crazy.
So
This is so
yes,
crazy.
but for him, for him it's good because, for example, a dance article could be translated to a conversation, an audio conversation as well. Very different approach.
Yeah, very different. And you, Lucas, what do you
I,
prefer?
I prefer physical books because I can write them. You know. So I agree, Odmar, because physical books I need space and carry on ever ever space
Everywhere.
everywhere.
They are
Yes.
heavy. They are very heavy.
Yes. Muito pesado. E that's it. I like physical books because I can write in them, but nowadays necessary to read ebooks. That's it.
Be more minimalism, right? And you, Isabel, what do you prefer?
Well, I prefer physical books too. I bought a Kindle and I read, I think, one book, that digital book. But since then, I don't read anymore the Kindle. I don't know why. I think I like to see, for example, my I don't know the term in English, prateleira with a lot of books. So if I want to buy a new or read a new book, I prefer buy a physical book than searching the Kindle. Uh, for now, I have space in my room, but I don't know about the future. But I prefer read a physical actually. And it's curious because it's not related with the topic, but when I did my TCC, I don't know if TCC is correct in English, but I read something about like a movement that people are preferring buy physical things than digital, and the article said up something about uh, I don't remember even the name in Portuguese, but it's like a old CD, vinyl.
Vinyl.
Vinyl, thank you. Yes, thank
The
you.
vinyl one, the big one.
Yes, that's it. That's correct. And it's something that the people didn't bought it anymore. And I don't know if it's like 5 or 4 years ago, and nowadays too. I think the article said something that it started 5 or 4 days ago. The people are starting to buy more things like that, because I don't know, they prefer physical things. They have these more feelings with that than with compared to digital things.
I have a disclaimer about physical books because the physical books are made of what? What they are made of?
Paper?
Yeah, paper, yeah.
Paper is made of trees.
Trees.
You have to cut a lot of trees to this. So if imagine you have a billion of people in planet. If everyone wants to buy a physical book, imagine how many trees you have to cut off. I think there is a footprint problem when everybody wants to buy just physical things. So the digital things that I think is a better there is a better relationship with the planet.
Yeah, physical things is more sustainable when you think about issues like that. But I understand what Isabel shared with us because behind of the sustainable way or the practical way, we have uh, experience preferences, you know. So sometimes people relate it to have a physical thing like a vinyl or like a book, and because the experience that they have with these physical things is totally different when they try to try to the digital ones, right?
And the
But I
vinyl is
totally,
made of tree walks as well.
oh my God.
Yes, there is a footprint on that.
So I understand the point of view about the people, but I don't agree about it. I think when we have digital possibilities, we can be more sustainable. And this is great. It's also great. And let me ask you one thing that are not in our list, but how was the last time that you
Why instead of buying a new book, why do people don't use the Sebo anymore? Do you know
I use
Sebo?
it? Yeah,
So
I go to
I think it's a
this
good
type of
way
bookstore.
yeah, it's a good way to you can buy a book, a physical book more cheaper. Sometimes in a good stage. Sometimes not, but it's a way to share. It's something you can share. For example, you can talk with your friends. Oh, I'm just finished this book. You want to read this? So share, and people can change.
Yeah, I shared a lot of books during the pandemic. I sold some books and I sent some books to to friends, and we changed it during this period because it was a
Nice.
time that we stay at home, and one thing that we did a lot it was reading. So we changed a lot of books at this period.
But at
And
that time, you need to disinfect the book first.
yeah.
Just kidding.
So guys, so let's to move on to the question number 6. Um, let me see, Lucas. Is there a book that has significantly impacted your life? If so, which one?
Yes, there is a book is Hey, Anybody There? It was a first book when I was 8 years old, and this book for start for me worthy books, worthy readings. That's it.
Can you put the name of the book on the chat and the author, if you could, please?
Em português
In
chama
Portuguese, not problem.
em português chama Ei, tem alguém aí? Em inglês é Hey, Anybody. Deixa eu anotar aqui, Anybody there. Na verdade é Hello, is anybody there? Aí.
Thank you.
You're
And you,
welcome.
Isabel?
Well, I think uh, O Despertar da Senhorita Prim, in Portuguese, it's a book that had a significant impact in my life because the history about what she was before she started to live in the new city, it's very difficult, and the experience that she had teach me a lot about the simple things in life and the importance of study and that's it, have a good relationship with others. So I think that books it was very significant.
Thank you for sharing. And if you could put on the chat the name and the author in the
Sure.
chat, go on. And you, Udmar?
Guys, thinking about this question, I think I have maybe a different answer. I think it's a religious book. It was a religious book. It was Livro dos Espíritos from Allan Kardec. It has a very, very heavy impact in my life, for good.
I know about this book because my mom have one. And I
Okay.
remember her reading this book and sharing with me her experience, right? But it was a long time ago, but I can remember
Yeah,
about it.
it was very long time, long time ago. So I was 18 years only, teenager.
One book that, in my case, guys, one book that impacted my life was Atomic Habits, because it's a book about how to maintain a good habit and how to look for your habits like not it's more than an obligation. It's not an obligation, but I think that it's a part of your life as the other thing that you do in your daily life, like take a shower and eat and brush your teeth. So it was a good book to change the perception of, for example, practice an exercise or reading books, and to how to put it as habits as the other ones that we already have in life. So it was a book that changed. And there is another book related to the same topic. I don't know the name. I don't know the name in English, but in Portuguese is Mude Seus Hábitos, Mude Sua Vida. And this book is more. There is a lot of tips to how to create a new habit, and how to experience about to put this habit at the morning or at night, and how to do it in a practical way.
Uh,
I would,
I like this kind of tips books. I like this kind of.
yeah, me too.
Could you put the name of
Yeah,
the?
I put on the chat. Don't worry. So the question number 7 is, how do you discover new books to read? Do you rely on recommendations from friends, bookstores, online reviews, or other sources? Isabel.
Well, I actually listen a lot of podcasts, and then I note the books that they share with us. So I have a, a paper. I don't know how can I say that. A really a small book that I write. I write all the books that I listen those podcasts, and then with time I buy something. And let me see. I don't know if I actually bought some book that someone in personal life shared with me. Uh, my family don't have the habit to read a lot, so they don't share a lot of types of books with me. And I think that's it. The most common thing that I did to search new books is that way, listening to podcasts.
Yeah, I use podcasts to how to say to discover new books, and I also consider the recommendations of my friends or my relatives about books. And I also follow a guy on Instagram. I think her name in Instagram is Bookster. And this guy suggests a lot of books and puts a lot of reviews of books, national books, international books, and it's great, a great place, a great way to discover new books to read. And you, Lucas?
I watch some booktubers on YouTube, and that is a maneira I discover new books. That's it.
It's there is several YouTube channels about this topic, people that are recommend, and they just working on YouTube with this area, you know. So sometimes I receive some recommendations about watch this video, and there is a boy or there is a girl recommended some book. It's
Yeah.
how to say, it's an area on the part of YouTube just focused on these things. And you, Odimar?
It's like Isabel. Recently, I was listening very much podcasts. Listen to, and sometimes someone indicates a book that I can try later. But I like to because I'm a lazy person, lazy reader, like just 1 or 2 books a year. I follow my friends. I just ask, what are you reading? What the book you read that you like it? So because I'm very lazy, so when the book is not good, this book is not good, so I pass. This one I will pass. So that's it.
Sorry. The next question, Odimar, is related that you mentioned it. The question is the number. Oh my God, where is the number 8? Are
8.
you the type of person who interrupts reading a book you're not enjoying, or one that you're only pushing through to reach the end? I'm the first option. I'm the type of person that if the book is not good, I interrupt and try to read another one.
I think I have a
And
trauma regarding this. For example, the books you need to learning to pass in the vestibular. I hated them. So when I start to read a book that I don't like, I just forget about it because I have a trauma reading books that I don't want to.
yeah, I remember this phase of my life. And you, Isabel?
Well, I don't know why, but I like to read all the book. But I'm open. If I don't like some books, I stop to read. But I'm trying to read the complete history. And for example, if I don't finish a book, that happened recently, actually, I don't finish a book that I'm reading about economic stuff, something like that. But I put this book um, in the side of my bed, so I always remember that I need to finish that book, even I don't finish in the past, for example. So I did that too nowadays. But I try to finish the book. Actually, a thing that I try to do.
Thank you for sharing this good strategy, Isabel. I will try it. And you, Lucas?
So, I guess I am a person who I like reading the book until the end. I guess. That's it.
And guys, just to finish the discussion here, I'd like to know you about the question number 12. What influenced your decision to purchase a new book, such as recommendations, reviews, theme, design, or hours? Odimar.
Sorry, I think I already answered this question. I must ask for friends that I know the taste, my wife or some close friends. So if they recommend a lot some book, I think I'll try. If they don't recommend, I don't try. Even if some review it's telling it's good, but I think not all texts are good for everyone. Depending your taste, I think your needs, your phase of life, for example.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you, Lucas?
Well, nowadays I like to read self-help books, but last year I like to read book Harry Potter's books. And
It's a good one.
so, but I enjoy very much self-help books.
And you, Isabel, what made you to buy a new book? Like the question number 12.
Well, when I put some recommendation in my list that I said before, if I listen that in a podcast, something like that, when I think about and have this desire to buy a new book, first of all, I read that list and then I think, well, what the topic that I want to study or just to buy a book that I want to have fun. So I chose the goal and then I put a check on the list and choose a book to buy. Something like that.
Thank you for sharing. Guys, thank you so much for your time with me. Lucas, did you enjoy the conversation? It's your first time here.
Yes,
So,
I enjoy, but I am a little nervous.
oh, don't worry, don't worry. As I mentioned it before, we are between friends here. I put on the chat a link for the survey so you can put a note for this immersion from 1 to 10 and put some comments, some ideas to topic that you really like to discuss about, okay? And next week we are going to talk about household chores. So I'd like to see you again in the next week. So thank you so much for your time. Have a good rest of the week and bye bye, guys.
Thank you very